June 6, 1944. 03:19 a.m. Somewhere over the dark, churning waters of the English Channel. You can hear the engines before you see the planes, a low, rolling thunder that grows until it fills the sky. Then the first shapes emerge from the clouds, hundreds of Allied transport aircraft, their invasion stripes flashing white against black wings, flying low and fast toward the coast of France. Below them, the sea is alive. Landing craft slice through the waves in endless columns. Battleships loom on the horizon like floating cities. The night sky flickers with distant flak. Every few seconds, tracer rounds arc upward like red comets, trying to claw the armada out of the darkness. And on the beaches of Normandy, German sentries stare out into the black water. At first they think it's another drill, another feint, another deception. Berlin has promised them this would happen. For months, the Reich has been waiting for the real invasion, and Normandy, they were told, is not it. At the German 7th Army headquarters in Le Mans, the phone rings. A junior officer picks it up, his face drains of color. Fallschirmjäger everywhere, the voice says. They're dropping behind the lines, bridges are under attack, communications are failing. Within minutes, reports flood in from coastal radar stations, naval observers, artillery posts, recon units. The invasion is here. Or so it seems. But in Germany, deep inside the concrete walls of the Führer headquarters, the man who controls the fate of Europe is asleep. And no one dares wake him. Field Marshal Gerd von Rundstedt, Commander-in-Chief West, has been awake all night. The old Prussian officer stands hunched over a map table, cigarette burning down between his fingers, eyes fixed on the coastline of northern France. Normandy, Utah, Omaha, gold Juno sword. Red pins are already multiplying. At 04:30, Rundstedt turns to his chief of staff. "This is no raid," he says quietly. "This is the invasion." Across the channel, more than 150,000 Allied troops are already moving toward the beaches. Thousands of ships, 11,000 aircraft, the largest amphibious operation in human history. And Rundstedt knows exactly what must be done. The Panzer reserves must move, now. Germany's armored divisions, the last real striking power of the Wehrmacht in the West, are held inland, positioned to counterattack any landing. If they strike fast enough, they might still throw the Allies back into the sea. But there is a problem. Those panzer divisions do not answer to Rundstedt. They answer to Adolf Hitler. At 06:30, the phone lines into Berlin are burning. Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, commander of Army Group B, is not even in France. He is in Germany, visiting his wife for her birthday, but his headquarters is calling him non-stop. Enemy landings confirmed along the Normandy coast. Rommel freezes. Normandy. Not Calais. Not the Pas-de-Calais, where every German intelligence report insists the real invasion will come. Normandy, the sector Berlin insisted, was only a decoy. Rommel doesn't hesitate. He orders his staff to wake Rundstedt. "Tell him to move the panzers," Rommel says, "immediately." Rundstedt already has. But Berlin is stalling. Because Hitler is still asleep. Inside the Führer headquarters at Berchtesgaden, guards whisper in the corridors. Officers stand in tense clusters. Phones ring unanswered. The invasion has begun, but protocol forbids waking the Führer without absolute certainty. Hitler had been awake until nearly dawn, studying reports from Calais. Once again, intelligence claimed Patton's 1st U.S. Army Group was preparing to cross the channel there. The Ghost Army. Inflatable tanks, fake radio traffic, dummy landing craft, entire phantom divisions that existed only in the imagination of German intelligence. Hitler was convinced Patton was coming. And Normandy, he believed, was just the distraction. So the panzers remained locked in place. At 0700, Rommel's chief of staff, General Hans Spadel, finally breaks protocol. He calls Berlin. "This is the invasion," Spadel says. "We must release the armored reserves." The response is cold. The Führer believes this is a diversion. The real landing will follow at Calais. Spadel slams the receiver down. On the beaches, German strongpoints are already under naval bombardment. Concrete bunkers shake as battleship shells slam into the cliffs. Machine gun nests disappear in clouds of dust and smoke. At Omaha Beach, American infantry pour out of their landing craft into waist-deep water, running headlong into machine gun fire. Men fall by the dozens. Bodies float in the surf. At Utah, airborne troops are fighting in flooded fields, trying to hold road junctions against counterattacks. At Pegasus Bridge, British paratroopers have seized a vital crossing point in a daring night assault. Everywhere the front is cracking, and Germany's armored fist is still sitting idle. At 10:00, Hitler finally wakes. He is groggy, irritable, furious that his sleep has been disturbed. Rundstedt's report is placed in front of him. Massive landings in Normandy, airborne troops behind the lines, naval bombardment, beachheads expanding. Hitler reads it. Then he pushes the paper away. "This is not the main attack," he says. His generals exchange glances. Rundstedt's voice crackles over the phone. "Mein Führer, we must move the panzer divisions now. If we wait, we will lose the coast." Hitler's reply is sharp. "The enemy is trying to draw our armor away from Calais. Patton will land there. I will not be deceived." Rommel is brought on the line. He tries again. "Every hour we delay strengthens their position. We must counterattack while they are still vulnerable." Silence. Then Hitler speaks. "No movement without my direct order." The line goes dead. In Normandy, the morning sun rises through smoke and fire. American Rangers scale the cliffs at Point du Hoc under machine gun fire. British commandos storm the beaches at Sword. Canadian troops fight house to house at Juno. The invasion is no longer a landing. It is a foothold. German infantry units are fighting alone, outnumbered, outgunned, cut off from reinforcement. They wait for the sound of panzer engines. They wait for the counterattack. It never comes. By noon, Allied forces are pushing inland. Supply convoys are already unloading. Artillery batteries are rolling ashore. Engineers are clearing exits off the beaches. On Omaha, the breakthrough finally comes. American troops fight their way off the sand and into the hedgerows beyond. The impossible has happened. The Atlantic Wall has been breached. And Berlin is still waiting for Patton. At 15:00, new reports arrive. The beachheads are holding, expanding, linking up. This is no raid. No diversion. No feint. This is the invasion. Hitler stares at the map. For the first time, doubt creeps in. But the order still does not come. The panzers remain in their camps. Engines cold. Crews waiting. While the Allies build an army on the shores of France. And somewhere in Normandy, a German officer watches another wave of landing craft grind onto the sand and realizes, with a hollow certainty, that Germany has already lost the most important day of the war. Because the man in Berlin refused to believe what his own generals could already see. June 6, 1944. Late afternoon. Normandy coast. The tide is turning red. Wrecked landing craft burn in the shallows. Smoke rolls inland like a moving wall. Naval guns still thunder offshore, shaking the ground every few seconds. Above the beaches, Allied fighters patrol in endless loops, hunting anything that moves. German infantry stumble through shattered hedgerows, dazed, ears ringing, uniforms blackened with soot. They have been fighting for nearly 12 hours without pause. And still no armor. No Panzer counterattack. No steel fist. Only men with rifles, machine guns, and the knowledge that the enemy keeps coming. In the headquarters of the German 7th Army, the atmosphere is suffocating. Telephones scream, messengers sprint between rooms, maps are rewritten in red pencil as new breakthroughs appear by the hour. General Friedrich Dahlmann, commander of 7th Army, stares at the coastline in disbelief. His divisions are bleeding to death. And Berlin is still waiting for Patton. For months, German intelligence has lived inside a carefully constructed illusion. A phantom army. An army that does not exist. It has a name. First U.S. Army Group. FUSAG. On paper, it is the most powerful Allied formation in Britain. Dozens of divisions, thousands of tanks, hundreds of thousands of men. Its commander is the one General Hitler truly fears. George S. Patton. The aggressive American, the fast-moving butcher of Sicily, the man German officers study like a natural disaster. And according to every intelligence report, Patton is waiting at Dover. Facing Calais. The deception is flawless. Inflatable tanks sit in fields, fake aircraft line airstrips, wooden landing craft bob in harbors, radio operators transmit endless streams of coded chatter. Even Allied double agents confirm it. In Berlin, the picture is crystal clear. Normandy is the distraction. Calais is the real blow. And Patton will lead it. Inside the Führer headquarters, Hitler stands over a massive situation map. Red pins for German units, blue pins for Allied forces. Normandy is now a solid blue smear. But Calais remains quiet. Empty. Too quiet. Hitler taps the map with his finger. They want our armor in Normandy, he says. They want us to weaken Calais. Cadel nods. Jodl nods. No one dares argue. Except one man. Field Marshal Rundstedt is furious. He has commanded German armies for 4 decades. He has seen the Western Front collapse once before, and he recognizes the pattern. This is not a raid. This is not a probe. This is the beginning of the end. He calls Berlin again. This is the main invasion. If we wait for Calais, there will be nothing left to save. Hitler explodes. You are panicking like in 1918. Rundstedt grips the phone. My Führer, the enemy is unloading an entire army. We must strike while they are still vulnerable. Hitler's voice drops. I will decide when to move the Panzer divisions. The line goes dead. Rommel is already on the road. He races back toward France in his staff car, tearing through the countryside at full speed. He passes endless columns of trucks, artillery, and horse-drawn wagons moving toward the front. The war is coming to meet him. By the time he reaches his headquarters near La Roche-Guyon, the situation is deteriorating fast. British forces have linked their beachheads. American units are pushing through the bocage. Canadian troops are fighting for Caen. And German units are collapsing sector by sector. Rommel studies the reports. Then he says the words no one wants to hear. If the armor does not move tonight, the war is lost. Finally, at 16:00, Hitler allows part of the Panzer force to move. But not all. Only 2 divisions. And not toward the beaches. They are ordered to hold back, waiting for Patton. The real invasion is still coming, Hitler insists. Rommel is stunned. 2 divisions cannot stop an entire Allied army. And the rest are sitting idle, guarding a coastline the enemy has no intention of touching. As evening falls, Allied engineers build the first makeshift harbors. Trucks roll ashore in steady streams. Medical stations fill with wounded. The beachhead is no longer fragile. It is becoming permanent. German officers watch in disbelief as bulldozers carve roads through the sand and artillery batteries take up firing positions. This is not how an invasion looks when it is supposed to fail. At 21:00, new intelligence arrives in Berlin. The Allies are landing more troops than expected. Much more. The numbers are staggering. Hitler studies the report in silence. Then he pushes it aside. Patton has not moved, he says. Until he does, the main invasion has not begun. Outside, the sun sinks behind the Alps. In Normandy, it rises over a new front. That night, German soldiers attempt local counterattacks with what little armor they have. A handful of Panzer IVs, a few self-propelled guns. They are met by naval gunfire. Shells the size of cars tear through villages. Entire streets vanish. Tanks flip onto their backs like toys. The counterattacks disintegrate. And still, the real Panzer divisions wait. Somewhere in England, George Patton stands in front of a map of Europe. He knows exactly what the Germans believe. And he smiles, because as long as Hitler is waiting for him, the beaches of Normandy belong to the Allies. And the greatest army Germany has ever assembled is walking unopposed into France. In Berlin, Hitler goes to bed convinced the decisive battle is still ahead. But on the shores of Normandy, the decisive moment has already passed. June 7, 1944. Dawn. Normandy, France. The hedgerows are steaming. Smoke clings low to the ground, trapped between thick walls of green. The morning air smells of cordite, diesel fuel, and wet earth. Somewhere in the distance, a farmhouse burns, its roof collapsing in slow, echoing crashes. American infantry move forward in short bursts, hugging the dirt, rifles raised. Tanks crawl behind them, their engines rumbling like distant thunder. Artillery flashes on the horizon. This is no longer a landing. It is a front. German units are falling back toward Caen, Carentan, and Bayeux. Communications are shredded. Officers shout orders over the sound of shellfire. Runners sprint through fields where cattle lie dead in the grass. And still the question echoes through every command post. Where are the Panzers? At Rommel's headquarters. The situation map is almost unrecognizable. Blue arrows point inland. Red units are circled, crossed out, erased. Rommel stands motionless, jaw clenched, eyes scanning the coast. The enemy is building strength faster than we can destroy it, he says. His staff knows what that means. Once the Allies secure a deep enough foothold, Germany will never push them back into the sea. The window is closing. In Berlin, Hitler receives the morning briefing. Fresh reports, fresh numbers. More than 200,000 Allied troops now ashore, thousands of vehicles, hundreds of artillery pieces. And still no movement at Calais. The Pas-de-Calais remains quiet. Too quiet. General Alfred Jodl clears his throat. My Führer, if this is a diversion, it is the largest in military history. Hitler does not look up. They want us to think that, he says. Cadel shifts uncomfortably. The enemy is advancing beyond the beachheads. Silence. Then Hitler asks the question no one wants to answer. Where is Patton? German intelligence has no answer. FUSAG has gone radio silent. The Phantom divisions remain in place. The inflatable tanks are still sitting in English fields. Everything looks exactly as it should. Except Normandy is on fire. Rundstedt has reached the end of his patience. He calls Berlin one last time. Release the Panzer divisions, all of them now. Hitler's reply is colder than before. If you move the armor and Patton lands at Calais, you will be responsible for losing the war. Rundstedt closes his eyes. We are already losing it. That afternoon, Rommel drives to the front. His staff car races through villages shattered by bombing. He passes retreating infantry, their faces gray with exhaustion. Some have been fighting for 48 hours without sleep. At a command post near Caen, Rommel climbs out and studies the terrain. The Allies are everywhere. They have air superiority, naval gunfire, endless supplies. And Germany has hesitation. Rommel turns to his aide. Tell Berlin this is the Schwerpunkt, the main effort. If we do not commit everything now, we will never stop them. The message is sent. The answer never comes. At 16:00, Allied forces capture Cairnton. The American beachheads are now linked. Utah and Omaha are one front. A continuous line of steel and men stretches across Normandy. The invasion has succeeded. In the Führer headquarters, Hitler finally begins to doubt. He stares at the reports for a long time. The numbers no longer make sense. The scale is too large. The persistence too strong. No army commits this much power to a diversion. Slowly, reluctantly, he speaks. Perhaps this is the main attack. No one replies. They have been waiting to hear those words for 2 days. At 18:00, Hitler authorizes the movement of additional Panzer divisions. But it is already too late. Allied aircraft dominate the skies. Every road is watched. Every bridge is targeted. Columns of German armor are smashed from the air before they reach the front. Fuel trucks burn. Ammunition convoys explode. The panzers arrive in pieces. That night, Rommel stands on a hill overlooking the front. The horizon glows red from burning towns. The sound of artillery never stops. He knows the truth now. The Atlantic Wall has failed. The illusion has collapsed. And Germany has missed its last chance. In Berlin, Hitler retreats into silence. The maps are cleared. The pins are rearranged. But the reality cannot be erased. The Allies are in France. And they are not leaving. Somewhere in England, Patton finally receives the order. FUSAG dissolves. The ghost army vanishes. The deception is complete. And Hitler realizes, with a cold, sinking certainty, that he has been fighting shadows while the real enemy marched straight through his defenses. The war in the West has entered its final act. And the man who swore he would never be deceived has just lost the greatest gamble of his life. June 8, 1944. Early morning. Führer headquarters, Germany. The room is silent except for the scratching of pencils. Maps cover the walls, tables, even the floor. France is pinned and repinned, lines redrawn again and again as reports arrive faster than anyone can process them. Adolf Hitler stands rigid, hands clasped behind his back, staring at Normandy. He has not slept. His face is pale, his movements sharp and controlled, like a man holding himself together by force of will alone. This is the moment his generals have been waiting for. The moment denial ends. Field Marshal Wilhelm Keitel begins the briefing. Enemy forces have secured all 5 beachheads. Reinforcements continue without interruption. Our counterattacks have failed. Hitler does not turn. Jodl steps forward. Allied air superiority is total. Our armored movements are being destroyed before contact. Still no response. Then Rundstedt speaks. My Führer, the opportunity to drive them into the sea has passed. The words hang in the air. For a moment, it seems as if Hitler has not heard him. Then his shoulders stiffen. He turns slowly. This is not how the war was supposed to unfold, Hitler says quietly. His voice is controlled, almost calm. The generals exchange uneasy glances. Hitler walks to the map and taps Normandy with his finger. They were not supposed to land here, not in this strength. He stops. And Patton. No one answers immediately. Finally, Jodl speaks. Patton has not moved, my Führer. Hitler's jaw tightens. For years, Hitler has believed in his own intuition above all else. He dismissed intelligence that contradicted his instincts. He overruled generals who warned him. He trusted his ability to see through deception. Now the evidence is in front of him. The Allied army in Normandy is real. And Patton was never coming. Hitler exhales sharply. So, he says, this was the main invasion. No one corrects him. Because there is nothing left to correct. He turns back to the map. The enemy has achieved surprise, he says, but surprise does not decide wars. The tone hardens. We will crush them in France. Cadel nods quickly. Yes, my Führer. Rundstedt does not move. He knows better. Hitler begins issuing orders. Panzer divisions are to attack immediately. Every available unit is to be thrown into Normandy. No retreat, no withdrawals without permission. The war will be decided here. On his terms. But the battlefield no longer belongs to him. In Normandy, the reality is brutal. Allied fighters roam freely, strafing anything that moves. Naval guns hammer German positions day and night. Supplies flow endlessly onto the beaches. German units arrive exhausted, fragmented, and under strength. The counteroffensive begins in chaos. Rommel throws everything he has into the fight around Caen. Panzer Lehr, 12th SS Hitlerjugend, elements of the 21st Panzer Division. They attack with fury. They attack with skill. They attack too late. The ground shakes as tanks clash at close range. Infantry fight house to house. Villages change hands multiple times in a single day. But every German advance is met by overwhelming firepower. When tanks move, Allied aircraft strike. When infantry gather, artillery falls. The battlefield belongs to the Allies. Back in Germany, Hitler listens to the reports. The words blur together. Heavy losses. Unable to advance. Enemy air attacks. His hand trembles slightly as he grips the edge of the table. This should not be possible, he mutters. Rundstedt finally breaks. My Führer, he says, his voice flat, exhausted, make peace. The room freezes. Cadel turns in horror. Hitler snaps around. What did you say? We have lost the war, Rundstedt replies. The West cannot be held. Hitler's face contorts. You have no faith, he snarls, no will. He dismisses Rundstedt on the spot. The man who tried to save the Western Front is removed for telling the truth. Hitler retreats deeper into his bunker. The world outside grows quieter. The maps remain, but now they lie. Because no matter how many arrows are drawn, no matter how many divisions are ordered forward, the reality cannot be changed. The Allies are in France, and Germany no longer controls its fate. Rommel will survive Normandy only weeks longer. Rundstedt will be replaced, and Hitler will never again admit he was wrong. But on this morning, staring at the coast of Normandy, he knows something he will never say out loud. He waited for a ghost, and by the time he faced the truth, the war had already moved beyond his reach. June 9, 1944. Normandy, France. The rain comes down in sheets. Mud sucks at boots, engines bog down in flooded fields. The sky hangs low and gray, pressing down on the battlefield like a weight. American infantry push forward through hedgerows thick as walls. They move one field at a time, one farmhouse at a time. Every corner is an ambush. Every tree line hides a machine gun. The war here is slow, brutal, personal. And it is unstoppable. German units dig in wherever they can. In orchards, in barns, in shattered villages whose names no longer matter. But there is no line. Only pockets of resistance. Only delays. Rommel rides the front in his open staff car, refusing to take cover. He watches the battle through binoculars, memorizing every rise and fall of the terrain. He knows what the Führer still refuses to accept. Germany no longer has the strength to push the Allies back. Only the strength to die slowly. Panzer Lehr attacks at dawn. One of the finest armored divisions ever assembled. Veterans of Russia, veterans of North Africa. They advance in perfect formation and are shredded. Fighter-bombers dive out of the clouds. Rockets tear into columns of tanks. Explosions rip through the ranks. By noon, the division is in retreat. Half its vehicles are burning in the fields. At Caen, the 12th SS Hitlerjugend throws teenage soldiers into the fight. They fight with fanaticism. They fight with courage. They fight against an enemy that never runs out of ammunition. The ground is littered with bodies. And still the Allies keep coming. In Germany, Hitler studies the front like a gambler staring at a losing hand. He orders attacks that cannot succeed. He demands breakthroughs that cannot happen. He forbids retreats that would save men. Every order is an attempt to reclaim control. Every order fails. By now, the Allies are landing more than 100,000 men a day. Ports are being built from nothing. Fuel pipelines are being laid across the channel. An entire continent is moving. And Germany is standing in its path. Rommel sends his final assessment. The enemy is superior in men, machines, and air power. We can no longer contain the bridgehead. There is no response. In the Führer headquarters, Hitler rages. He blames the Luftwaffe. He blames the Navy. He blames his generals. He blames betrayal. He blames fate. He never blames himself. At night, the front glows like a city. Artillery flashes light up the clouds. Burning villages flicker on the horizon. The roar of engines never stops. German soldiers write their last letters. Allied troops dig deeper. The battle for France has begun. And somewhere in Berlin, a man who once ruled Europe now stares at a map and realizes something he has never faced before. He no longer decides what happens next. The war has chosen its own path. The greatest invasion in history is complete. The liberation of Europe has begun. And the Third Reich is already dying. Not in a single moment, but in 1,000 small defeats that no speech can undo. Normandy will bleed for weeks, for months, but the outcome is sealed. Because on June 6, 1944, Hitler waited for a ghost. And the real enemy walked straight through his defenses. The illusion is gone. The beaches are lost. And the road to Berlin is open. June 10, 1944. Night. Führer headquarters, Germany. The corridors are dim. Only a few lamps burn. Shadows stretch across the walls like long fingers. Guards stand motionless outside the conference room, staring straight ahead, pretending not to hear the raised voices inside. The war map is lit by a single overhead light. Normandy glows red and blue. Too much blue. Hitler stands alone at the table now. The generals have left. The briefings are over. The phones are quiet. For the first time in 4 days, there is nothing left to argue. Nothing left to deny. The invasion has succeeded. He traces the coastline with his finger. From Cherbourg to Caen. From Omaha to Sword, each name is now a wound, each pin a failure. He whispers, barely audible. They deceived me. Not the Allies. Not Patton. His own belief. In Normandy, the guns still thunder. Allied armor grinds forward through the hedgerows. Engineers build bridges. Supply convoys roll through captured villages. France is waking up. German units fight on. Because they have no choice. Orders are orders. And retreat is forbidden. Rommel writes in his diary, "The war must be ended." He knows what is coming. He has seen it before. In 1918, Rundstedt is gone. His replacement is already issuing new orders. New plans. New arrows on the map. They look impressive. They mean nothing. The Luftwaffe is absent. The Kriegsmarine is shattered. The Panzer divisions are bleeding. And the enemy grows stronger every hour. Hitler sits. For the first time since the invasion began. His hands tremble. Just slightly. Enough to notice. He thinks of Calais. Of Patton. Of the phantom army that never came. Of the day he could have changed everything. Of the order he never gave. Outside, rain taps against the windows. Somewhere far away, a train whistles in the dark. Life goes on. The war does not care. In Normandy, American troops write home. British troops brew tea in shell craters. Canadian troops share cigarettes in the ruins of a church. They do not know what Hitler said. They do not care. They are already moving east. The road to Paris is opening. The road to Berlin is waiting. The greatest mistake of Hitler's life is finished. And it cannot be undone. Not by speeches. Not by orders. Not by anger. Because history does not pause. It moves. And on June 6, 1944, it moved past him. And